Hey everybody, how's it going tonight? This is Rebel Rock Radio, and this is episode number 148. And tonight we will be talking about Disney Plus TV series Andor. We're doing a 1 year later retrospective. With me tonight, coming back, is JD. How's it going tonight?
I am doing excellent, sir. And yourself?
Awesome. Doing good. So, let's see. We've got Isaac in the chat room right now. So far, it's still a little early, but we've got our Andor discussion. We'll have our recommendations of the week a little bit later. We've got some tunes to play. So why don't we go ahead and jump into that first tune? Just jump in and get things going. So this comes from a band based out of New York City by the name of Glimmer. And they released a single on October 18th of this year that we're going to play. And that single is called Place in the Sun. So here's Place in the Sun by Glimmer. Enjoy. right. That was Place in the Sun by Glimmer. Kind of a indie pop kind of thing going on there. Nice stuff. Those guys, like I said, are from New York. And I don't see any plans. Oh, they've got plans to release a full-length album in 2024, but no messages about when that will be out. Tina has joined the chat. Hey, Tina, how's it going? Good to see you in here. As I said, this is episode 148. If you're just joining, we're going to be talking about Andor today. And we've got some more music coming for you a little bit later, as well as our weekly picks. But we've also got a few things to discuss, I suppose. So November 17th is already passed, of course. But November 17th of this year was the 4th anniversary of the debut of the show. So we never really did a 4-year anniversary type show. But I thought we would at least mention it and say, hey, this is our post 4th anniversary show.
It's never too late to celebrate.
Never too late to celebrate. So, yeah, it's crazy that we've been on this long and still don't even have 150 episodes yet. But, happens. Things happen.
Well, congratulations on 4 years, buddy.
Yeah, thanks. Been a wild 4 years, and it has had its ups and downs, but we're still here, and we're going to keep bringing the content as long as you guys keep coming and listening to us. The other announcement that I want to make, JD doesn't even know this, and I've been keeping it pretty close to the chest for several weeks. There are very few people that know this, but Roborock Radio has joined a new upcoming podcast network. We were on a podcast network previously, left that for reasons, and we were invited to come join another podcast network. So the announcement, of course, is that we are now part of the Subculture Podcast Network. Other podcasts that are on this network, off the top of my head, we've got Dork Wars, which you have probably seen on the show before. The host, that is, Blake, has been on the show. He's the guy that hosts Dork Wars. There is stand by. Let me think of this. I know that there's a podcast called Trekker's Delight, Star Trek podcast. There is a podcast called Iconis. I get a feeling that I'm pronouncing that one wrong. Hang on. I think it's Iconis podcast. I've listened to quite a few episodes of that one. It's actually pretty good. And then there is also Entertain Rant, if I've got that one correct. It's a pretty small network, so Entertainment Rants is what it is. Entertainment Rants. And then there is another podcast other than us that is called, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm forgetting this. It's got Hole in the name. I know that. I really should have had this list pulled up, but I'm not smart enough to be prepared.
Preparation sucks.
Well, you know what? I'll just look at their bio link. Portable Hull Publishing is the name of it. And it's an interesting one. So they do have a bio link if you want to go check that out. And you know what? I thought I put a banner in here, but apparently I didn't. There we go. So right there at the bottom, just go to bio.link/subculture pod network, and that will link you to all of the podcasts that are on there and all the social media links for the podcast network. We are not on there yet. I told them to hang on until I was able to make the announcement.
That's awesome. It's always cool to get in with some of those smaller ones and people that have trying to build up together and get everybody's name out there and work together to get their podcast going. So that's always
and that's what it's all about. Just help cross promote and get kind of a community going together. And these are all a bunch of really good guys, and it's gonna be a lot of fun being part of this community. So there you have it. Subculture Podcast Network that we are now a part of.
Awesome.
All right. Well, let's see. So speaking of social media, where can you find us? Well, Rebel Rock Radio is all over the place. It's got pretty much every social media link that you can probably imagine. But I've got one link that'll take you to everything. If you pull it up, if you just go to rebelrockradio.com, that will take you to our bio link, which will take you to all of the different, not only all the different social media links, but we'll also link you to our YouTube channel where you can see the replays of this fine live stream. And we'll also take you to most of the audio platforms that our audio podcast is on, which basically is just an audio version of the live stream. But yeah, we're on Apple and Spotify and a bunch more, and those are linked on our bio link. So just go to rebelrockradio.com. Also linked on our bio link is a link to our Patreon, where you too can be a patron of the Rebel Rock Radio podcast, and you can help financially support us for as little as $1 a month. We do have a great group of folks that are supporting us currently, so I do want to give them a shout out. So shout outs go to Dave, Kelly, Chris, Justin, Charlie, and Chantel. Thank you so much for supporting us and helping us keep the lights on, so to speak.
And keep those show suggestions coming, because we could always use a good topic.
Oh yeah, we definitely could use some help in the subject matter area. I mean, we've got a few ideas out there. We just need to.
We love talking about Star Wars, so if it has to do with Star Wars or basically anything.
That is true. We do love talking about Star Wars.
Heck yeah.
Well, so it's been a few weeks since we've done an episode. What have you been up to?
Man, I actually was in Colorado when the last episode was going to come up, or the last episode that we were going to do before you went on vacation. I was in Colorado. I had some business to take care of with my mom that just recently passed, so I took care of that while I was there and spent some time with family for Thanksgiving, which had a great time. And I was vacationing in Colorado, and I actually thought I was going to be out of the mountains before the podcast started, and I ended up being stuck in the upper hills in the upper country and not being able to get any cell service. So,
oh wow,
which sometimes isn't a bad thing, because when you can get a break from social media and get away from stuff, that's always a good thing. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to do the podcast. So,
definitely. Anything else been going on?
No, man. Just kind of shuffling through the holidays, getting some of the holiday stuff done, doing a little bit of shopping for, for that coming up, getting ready for Christmas and stuff. And I'm going to be spending some time at the company picnic, the company Christmas party this weekend.
Oh, very nice.
And yeah. So my daughter's kind of leaning on me a little bit because her boyfriend has to go back to England for a month to renew his visa,
Yeah.
and then he will be coming back to take a job for the next semester in the college school year. And so yeah, she's kind of leaning on me a little bit because he's going to be gone for a month. So
Oh, wow.
yeah. So how have you been, buddy? How was your vacation, man? How was it?
Well, it was just kind of a 2 day thing. I took a train ride down to Dallas to go see a concert. And that was last week. That is why we did not have a show last week. I went down to see the Menzingers, and that's a band based out of Scranton, Pennsylvania. But that was good. The train ride was pleasant. Much better experience, really, than taking a trip on an airplane, because you don't have to deal with the whole TSA thing and all that
I tell you,
nonsense.
one of these years when I retire, I would love to go to like either fly to LA or New York and do one of those train rides that takes you from one city to the other across the
Yeah,
country. I think that would be truly interesting to see, the entire country from a train ride where you're not in control. You can just sleep when you want or hang out and just watch and look and see the back country of America. I would love to do that. I think that would be an awesome, awesome experience.
yeah, I could. Yeah, that would be a pretty fun ride. So
Hmm.
this one was just down to Dallas, which, like if I was driving it, it would be like 3.5 hours maybe, depending on how fast I want to drive. Uh, Train was interestingly enough longer than it would have taken me to drive, just because of all the stops they had to make in between. Um, but overall, it was a much better experience than driving down there. I've just gotten to the point where I really don't like driving anymore. I used to.
Try go, try going through Western Kansas and going to Colorado.
Oh, I've done it. Yeah, that's how we get there. That's how we get up to Longmont when we go up there. It's yeah,
As
no
soon as you
fun.
get through Western Kansas and Eastern Colorado and you see those mountains, you're like,
Thank
oh.
goodness. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I used to drive everywhere. I just don't like it near as much as I used to.
Hmm.
Um, so overall, it was a much better experience. And funny thing is that the train ticket was like really less than the cost of a tank of gas.
Nice. That's
So
good though.
that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't
And
have to worry about dealing with traffic. You don't have to worry about the driving part of it. You just sit
yeah,
back, relax,
I
and
just
check out the scenery.
I just took an Uber everywhere when I got down there.
Yeah, well,
They're
perfect,
like, yeah,
perfect.
there's
That's
Ubers all
awesome.
over the place, so it was really easy to find one. But
Hmm.
good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah.
So, what else has been going on with me? Oh, you know what? Last night, um, the missus and I had a dinner date. Now, this is interesting. Uh, you guys, you know who Gordon Ramsay is, right?
Oh yes. Uh huh.
Okay, so he opened up a new restaurant in Oklahoma City, which is Oklahoma City is about 30 minutes from where I'm at.
Hmm.
Um, Although the restaurant was kind of on the north end of Oklahoma City, so it was kind of a like a 45-minute drive ish. But it opened up and we made reservations because Mandy really wanted to try out that place. And we went there last night and it was pretty amazing. Food was really good, not surprisingly. Um, Mindy was not. She was really excited about their beef Wellington.
Isn't that one
Unfortunately,
of his favorite? Isn't that one of his favorite dishes?
Yeah, yeah. If you ever
Yeah,
watch
I thought
that
of.
show, Hell's Kitchen, the beef Wellington is a really big deal. So she was really excited about that and ordered that. Uh, but unfortunately was not terribly impressed. Um,
Hmm.
like the meat was good. It was just the outer layerings that she had kind of a problem with.
Hmm.
It was kind of mushy. So
Hmm.
not uh I was like, there was a lot of things on the menu. I'm like, what to pick? And I wound up going with the fish and chips. Uh because I've heard that his his fish and chips are really good. And they definitely were. I mean, like usually when you go to a restaurant, or at least when I do, and you go and get fish and chips, it's usually the fish is like cod. But here it was haddock. So
Wow.
a little bit nicer cut of fish, and yeah, it was really good. I mean, it was definitely some good fish and chips. But that being said, I have to say that the highlight of the meal was one of the appetizers. One of the appetizers that we ordered was a crab cake, and that thing was just amazing. Like I was telling some folks in the one of the chat rooms that I'm in that I'm gonna have dreams about that crab cake because that thing was so good. I mean, it was like, yeah. I mean, Manny even like she looked it up on the internet to find out the recipe for that crab cake because it's like, yeah, we gotta figure out how to make that because that is amazing. It was so good. The other appetizer we got was what was that thing called? A Scotch egg, which I've had one before and I wasn't terribly impressed. This one was fine. I mean, it was good, but it was better than the one I had before. But just really not my thing, I guess. I don't know. It was
We
fine. I ate it.
we have a. If you ever get a chance to go to Estes Park, there's a
Oh, I've been there.
Irish
I've been
place.
there.
Have you
I've
been
been
to the
there.
Irish restaurant in Estes Park?
Which one?
The Irish restaurant?
No, we did not go to that one.
Yeah, you'll have to go to the Irish place in Estes Park. They make elk burgers. They make a Philly cheesesteak sandwich. And every time we go there, we try different restaurants. But every time we go there, we always go back to the same place. We always try the same thing. And it's
Yeah,
like, it just,
yeah. I really, I do
mwah.
like those type of restaurants. So I definitely will.
Yes.
Once we get up there, I'll have to try it.
Hmm.
If we get up there again. Um, yeah, that's fun. So that was last night, but what else? Anything else going on? Well, I've been working on. Oh, I know what. I finally got around to recording another episode of my other podcast, which is a music-based podcast. This one's music too, but that one's like that's the whole thing. It's like very music centric, um, and it's called Radio Unfriendly. So you can go to radiounfriendly.com and that'll take you to all those links. But yeah, we finally finally got another episode out. It's been a really long time since we recorded an episode of that. That was a lot of fun. So we're going to try to make that a little bit more consistent again.
Nice.
And then other than that, it is the end of the year. And for me, with the end of the year also brings the end of the year favorites list. Starting with the best albums of 2023 list that I have started working on, and that has been, I don't know if I want to use the word nightmare, but it has been mentally exhausting. It's been a weird year. I mean, it's been a weird year in a good way for music because there's been a lot of stuff that came out and it's just like God, trying to figure out, trying to hash it down to. In my case, I'm doing a top 20. Um, I tend to bounce around with what number I'm going to go with, and it usually stays around like between 10 and 30. I think last year I did a top 10, but yeah, this year's a top 20, and I've been working on writing that out, and it's been exhausting. It was fun, and so I'll let you folks know when that is available to peruse. And I think on Radio Unfriendly, we're actually going to do a top albums review episode. So hopefully we get that out before the end of the year. And then I'll probably do a top movies of the year type thing. All right, that's enough jibber jabber. We got some music to play. So, next tune we have comes from Chico, California, from a band called The Wind-Ups. And back in October, late October, they released an album called Happy Like This. And we're playing a tune from that album. So this is The Wind-Ups with the song Oh, I Know. All right. That was Oh, I Know by The Wind-Ups. I didn't realize it was that short. So interesting. That was a little kind of buzzed out garage rock there. Good stuff there. Be sure to check out that album of theirs. That was Happy Like This. I don't remember what label that came on. I think it came on label. Let's see if I can find that information. That was Mount St. Mountain. Yeah, I don't know what that is. Okay. Whatever.
It's worth checking out, though.
I mean, a lot of stuff that I play on here actually is not from a label. I mean, there are a few, and like the ones that are on a record label, the record labels are like really small. So not really any record labels that most people have heard of. Hey, Dragon Buddy, how's it going? You're just in time. We haven't started talking about Andor yet.
That's kind of cool, though. I mean, I like the fact that you promote some of these smaller bands and some of these smaller people that don't necessarily have big name labels, and they're guys that are just trying to get started and get going. Maybe get their names out there, and that's cool. That's good to hear. It's good to hear these alternative places and stuff that doesn't necessarily appear on mainstream. That's good stuff.
Exactly. Yeah,
it's great stuff.
And that's kind of the purpose behind Radio Unfriendly as well. Is we generally play anywhere between like 6 and 10 bands on any given episode, and all of that is like the title of the podcast kind of suggests, it's Radio Unfriendly, so it's like music that you are unlikely to hear on the radio. so So good to get those names out.
I was even checking out one of your Instagram ones, and there was a post on Instagram we were talking about did Disney ruin Star Wars episode, and one of the bands that you played from Russia, I can't remember. It was what the heck was her name?
Oh, no, I know what you're talking about.
Uh huh.
Let me check my notes here because that was you said that was the has Disney ruined Star Wars.
Yeah, and they actually showed up on your Instagram page and said and gave a shout out and said much love. I thought that was cool.
No
You
tricks.
know, No Tricks. Yeah, that was what it was.
Yeah.
No Tricks. Yeah, that was great. I thought that was cool because they were happy that we played their stuff. That was great.
Yeah. I mean, it's not uncommon. Hey, Spencer. Um,
What's up,
I
Spencer?
thought radio unfriendly, as in the hosts are unfriendly. Well, it depends on the day, Spencer.
It's like
Um,
that restaurant you go to and they're intentionally rude to you for entertainment purposes.
yeah,
No, I
yeah.
don't.
Um, what was I getting at? Yeah, it's not uncommon for the bands to because when I post the promo for these and for radio unfriendly, when I post the promos on social media, I always if the band has a presence on the social media that I'm posting it on, I will tag them, just so people can go and check them out on social media. But it's not uncommon for them to comment or send something to me personally and just leave a comment that thanks for playing it and makes me feel like it is worth the effort, so to speak. All right, it is time for our weekly recommendations. So it's time for Rebel Rock Radio Weekly Picks. I'm gonna let you go first.
You let me go first?
Yeah, I'm gonna let you go first.
Oh, sorry, I missed that whole thing. I actually this week I found a new for those of you who are video game lovers and first person shooter lovers. I'm a history buff. I love history. I love history more than I do like modern video games and things like that. Like I said, in the past, one of my favorite video game series is the Assassin's Creed series because I love the historical value of it. I love the historical places and the history that goes along with it. But actually, this week, my recommendation this week is that if you've never played it before, it's a completely online game. It's called Hell Let Loose. It's a game that I just started playing. It's the first-person shooter game, and it actually takes place in the campaigns of World War II. And it is pretty intense. I die a lot because right now I suck at it. But I believe it or not, I've found some fun in it, and it's a pretty good game. So if you love first person shooters with a historical twist to them, I would recommend giving it a shot. Like I said, you're going to die a lot, so don't get frustrated, but give it a shot. It's a lot of fun. And the other day I got to play the Americans, which was cool this is kind of a cool story behind this. So a little bit of history about myself and my family. My grandfather was actually at Omaha Beach during the storming of Omaha Beach. He was a communications officer during the storming. And I actually, during the game, when I started playing it the other day, I got to play the Americans and got to storm the beaches of Omaha. And it was kind of interesting because if you think of my grandpa, I make you think about what he might have done while he was over there, what he might have went through. And even though it's just a first-person shooter video game, it has a very realistic tinge to it and a very realistic element to it. And to think of just playing the video game and how crazy it is to keep dying all the time and have to go back in and constantly try to do stuff, I was like, wow, that's intense. I can't imagine, what they went through or the kind of things they experienced. So, but it's a pretty fun video game. I've kind of gotten into it, maybe a little too much, just a little bit too much. This is a reason why I haven't gotten PlayStation Plus, and until this year was because I didn't want to get involved because I have too many personal chores that I have to do. So
Mm,
this might be a bad thing for me, but at this point, I'm enjoying it. So that's my recommendation for this week.
very good. Awesome. Cool, cool. So my recommendation this week is a movie. Um, I actually watched two movies this weekend. One of which I will not recommend because, quite frankly, it was trash and a waste of. I don't remember how long that movie was. Too long. Um, but the movie I am going to recommend that I watched on Saturday, was Godzilla Minus One.
Ooh.
And it was really good. It was a Japanese film with English subtitles, so that may turn off a lot of people. I know it turned off everybody I asked to go with me, but but so I went and saw it by myself. I'm like, screw it, I'm going to see it. And it takes place like right after World War II. And it's I really liked it. I really liked the way that Godzilla looked in it. Something about the way they put them together. It was really good. Really good movie. If you are a good Godzilla fan, definitely worth going to check out. And I don't know if you like subtitled films. This is right up your alley too. So a lot of cool stuff. It was. I get the feeling they're probably going to do a sequel to this, especially based on the numbers I've been hearing that it's bringing in. Bringing in quite a good box office
you know
amount.
you you go back and watch the old Japanese versions where they had the guy in the suit stomping on the model things, and to see what it's developed into this day, it's like
Yep.
it's amazing. It's amazing how well that movie does after all that, at the history of it. And how does it? Let me ask you this: how does it tie into that series they're doing on Apple TV? Do you know?
I don't think it has anything to do with that.
Oh, okay. So something
Um,
something
I think these
completely
are
separate, huh?
completely different continuities.
Hmm.
I think that one is supposed to be more. I haven't read a whole lot about it, but I think that one's supposed to have more to do with the new, like the
So
Universal
like
ones that are coming out.
the
Um,
Godzilla versus King Kong universe kind of thing.
yeah, that one. So there is actually another one of those coming out next year.
It's called
Um,
Empire or something like that.
what was it called?
I can't remember. It's called Godzilla versus King Kong something. I think Empire or something like that.
I think you're right. Yeah, I remember the word empire in there somewhere. Hold on, I've got a list of movies that are coming out. The New Empire. Yeah, the New
Yeah, the
Empire.
new Empire. Yeah, I knew it was Empire in there somewhere.
Yeah. So I will definitely go and see that because I'm looking forward to that. I did like the other Godzilla versus Kong movie, the one that came out in, oh man, when was that? That was 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the movie that I seem to be gravitating more toward as far as being kind of excited to see next year. Now there's Dune 2. I am looking forward to seeing that. But the more I see the trailer, the more I am uh, really excited to see the new Planet of the Apes movie.
I haven't seen. I'll be honest with you. I haven't watched any of those. I haven't. I think I watched like the first one with Mark Wahlberg.
Oh yeah, that one is not even the best of that franchise.
Mm.
Actually, I don't even think that one's not even part of the same um, franchise reboot franchise as what this one is in. This one started with the Rise of the Planet of the Apes. That one came out in 2011 is when that one came out. And then it was Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and then War for the Planet of the Apes. And that one came out in 2017. So this is the first one since 2017. And it is called Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that one. All right. Well, let's finish up our music set with the last musical interlude of the evening. This one, let me turn that thing off. We're not doing that anymore. This one comes from Nashville, Tennessee, and the band is called Palm Ghosts. They released an album on the 10th of November through Sweet Cheetah Records, and the name of the album was Love You, Burn in Hell. Great name for an album. And the song that we're going to play from that album is called Automatic for the Modern Age. So here is that one.
That was sold to me
All right. Well, that was Automatic for the Modern Age by Palm Ghosts. Had kind of an 80s like goth rock feel to it.
A little bit of techno in there too.
Yeah, a little bit of that. Kind of along the lines of like Killing Joke, Sisters of Mercy, a few other bands. Not so much like The Cure. Maybe a little Joy Division in there, just a tad. Yeah, it's kind of a kind of goth rock type techno thing, like you mentioned. Um, so check them out. I just put out an album called "Love You Burn in Hell" through Sweet Cheetah Records. So
I
uh,
love that title.
yeah, it's great. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. All right. Well, it is time to talk some Andor. Andor, woohoo! And so, a little over a year ago, we had a TV series based on a character from Rogue One, of course, Cassian Andor. And of course, the show was a little bit more than just about him. This show kind of gave us the um, a glimpse into the birth of the Rebel Alliance. Um, and I mean, I got to say, out of all of the live action TV shows that Disney Plus has put out, I'm not gonna lie, I like the Mandalorian, but Andor for me is just right there at the top. Just such an amazing show, and there's so much to talk about. Such a great show. Um,
Well, I mean,
what do you think of the show in general?
I loved it. As I've said before, I've talked about this before in the past. That I think it was basically meant for a older crowd. I don't really think if George Lucas always said that Star Wars was made for the 12-year-old kid who was growing up and wasn't sure where to go in his life and this, that, and the other thing. Where Andor, I think, with Disney has become a show that's more for adults and more of dealing with a lot deeper subjects, a lot darker subjects in some cases too.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody loved. I'm admittedly, I'm one of those people who Rogue One is one of my favorite movie mediums to come out of Disney. I think it was great execution. I think it was greatly done. Even though there was some behind the scenes problems and issues that it had, it came out great. I think it really did well. It was well received, it seems like. And the fact that they're doing a background story about him and some of his finer points that he mentioned during the movie,
Mm-hmm.
some of the things that he had been through and the fact that they don't know, the decisions that he's had to make. I think it's great that they're kind of expanding upon that, and they're expanding upon some of the deeper issues, not only with the rebellion, but with the empire and things like Saul Guerrera and, the more extreme side of the rebellion as opposed to the ones that's trying to be more diplomatic about things and how they were trying to be diplomatic or they were trying to be behind the scenes and they were trying to find ways around, imperial policy, but then they had to end up fighting in the end. It came down to war and that kind of thing in the end.
Yeah.
And it just the background it goes into and the talking points and the monologuing. I mean, it's so well done, and
Yeah.
and the acting is just on point.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, great, and I love some of those some of the great characters. I've seen Diego Luna in one of my favorite westerns is Open Range, and he was in Open Range, and he played a kid in that movie, and I think he played a great role. And it was kind of a side role, but he did really good, so I was really excited to see him in this. And
Yeah.
then Stellan Skarsgård, I mean, phenomenal. I think he's a great actor, awesome dude. And don't anybody shoot me, but the lady who plays Mon Mothma, excellent actress, love her. She does great. and then the gal that's his helper in the antiquities shop that he owns.
Yeah.
Excellent, excellent, and the even the ladies from the each one of the each the ladies that help with the heist, and
Yeah.
then the lady that helped him in his home world and all that kind of stuff. I mean, just some phenomenal acting, phenomenal just phenomenal work on that end. And
Yeah.
I think it's just been a really great put together show. So yeah, overall, it was a fantastic show.
So Tina in the chat said that Andor was a show I didn't know I needed until it aired.
Yes, I agree.
Very, very good.
I agree. You always hear people give you crap if you're a Star Wars fan and they're outside of the Star Wars medium. It's always Star Wars is for kids. Watch this show.
Not the show.
You will find out real quick it's not for kids. It's something that's a very hey Dork Horse. It's a very mature subject matter.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. Yep.
So as the course of the entire series goes, it's kind of cut up into pieces. You have everything leading up to the heist, and then after that you have basically the prison act, and then after that, everything after that is kind of everything leading up to Andor's entry into the rebellion, and a lot of behind the scenes stuff as far as the rebellion. You were talking about dark themes and more mature themes. You really get a sense of how gray this war is, and how everything is not like nothing is all black and white. Now that does lead me to another thought, that as in, you got the original trilogy, and you're seeing the actions and the story just from this this perspective of like these 3 or 4 people, and you don't really get a sense of the war itself. There's a war going on because you've got this rebellion against the Empire, but you don't really get a sense of the war itself. Maybe perhaps a little bit when you get to Return of the Jedi.
Well, and I think in a little way that might be the point of it, though, because at that point, the rebellion really, if they kind of hint to the point that the rebellion might be out there or there might be something going on, but they really haven't made a move yet.
Yeah.
And the theft on the planet, the scenes where they make the heist, kind of gives them the idea that there's something bigger going on.
Yeah.
And so they might not have been engaged in the fact that there wasn't really an engagement in there's a rebellion, or they didn't I don't even think at most points they didn't even really mention a rebellion, other than maybe like Saul Guerrera doing a few of his things.
Right. And that one ISB agent, she kind of had an idea there's something going on out there.
Yeah.
She's just trying to piece it all together. But yeah, this one kind of gave us more of a look into the war side of the war. And as I mentioned on another episode of the show here, at some point, I was talking about how this was a lot more grounded Star Wars than like the original trilogy, and even the prequel trilogy gave us, because most of that was all about the Jedi and the Force users and whatnot, and this is more about the kind of the grunts, so to speak, of the war. So Tina made another comment that kind of linking Andor to Rogue One. my mindset was they all died. But this show makes the deaths even more meaningful. Like, yeah, you
100%.
you get you get an idea of these people that died in Rogue One, and when you get to learn more about these people, it kind of makes it worse.
Well,
Uh,
I think that's one of the great things, like out of the Clone Wars, for example, was you've got these basic stories that came out with the movies. They kind of set this tone, and then Clone Wars went in and expanded more on it and made you empathize more with the characters and made you understand a little bit more
mhm.
about it. This show took that to such an extreme level
Yeah,
of really diving deep into some of these characters that we've been invested in with Rogue One, that were like, wow, this is great. And it wasn't one of those things where it was like, it wasn't one of those things where it was like, it was all fun and games and jokes and blah, 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 blah. It
yeah,
was, this is serious business for them. And you even get to, and like you said, with the gray area, you even get to step into Imperial lives and see that they had wives and they had kids and they
mhm.
had,
Yeah,
some of the things they had going on. And it's like, because there's always been people that have said, I kind of stand on, there's people that always been, and even for me, it was kind of confusing. It was like, there was people like, oh, but I always wanted to be part of the Empire. I always wanted to be part of the rebellion. And this show kind of establishes that a little bit to the point where you go, I can kind of see a little bit where some people would look at that and go, I kind of get it, because there's always that core statement of one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter.
right, right.
So depending on what side you stand on and what side you feel about it, it depends on who you have sympathy with and all that kind of stuff. And you actually go into it. And when you see people die on the Death Star, for instance, it's like those people might have actually had families,
Yeah,
or they might have had a private life, or they might have been, who were they before that happened? And it's like, wow, okay. And it makes it to where you're right, exactly. It makes the lines gray. It blurs the lines.
yeah.
And
I
this
mean,
show is what does that.
it makes you realize that, like, okay, so maybe not all Imperials were aware of the really shady crap that was going
I
on.
just saw that.
Um, but Dragon Buddy made a good comment here. He just gave us the imagery of how far the Empire was willing to go, and gave more meaning to why Saw Gerrera did what he did,
Mm-hmm.
and how he did it. But yeah, like I was saying, it really got into the gray areas of war. Um,
Yeah, and I mean,
Blake made a very good point here. It was, well, at times it may have felt like it was a slow burn.
mm-hmm.
But yeah, the kind of TV you used to get before streaming services, and some people couldn't handle it. Yeah, there were actually people that were not like, this wasn't really their favorite Star Wars, which is fine. It's all good. But
My recommendation for people is that if they later in town and later in time, if they watch it and you haven't watched it a second time, I definitely recommend it, because once you watch it the first time, it does feel like a slow burn, but when you watch it the second time, it definitely
yeah,
picks up the pace, because you understand a little bit better about what's going on, and then it's like all Star Wars or all movies
mhm,
are Star Wars. Once you watch it a second time or even a third time, you pick up on things and you see things you didn't see before.
yeah,
And this is definitely one of those shows that you should watch more than once, because then you see it and then you start to notice you're not just looking, you're not just looking
yeah,
here. You start to expand your view on it, and it really becomes more things become more clear, I think.
so I think I have seen it. I've watched it at least 3 times.
Yeah, 3 for me too.
Um, and I know
As a
that I
matter,
watched it in preparation to do this episode. So
yep.
yeah,
Yep. I
uh,
watched it the first time it came out. Then I watched it a couple months later after I let it kind of kind of settle in a little bit.
mhm,
And then
yeah,
before I knew we were going to do this show, then I did it again. And I even picked up on things the third time. And if I watch it 4 or 5, there's things you're going to see again that you're like, oh wow, I didn't notice that the first time,
yeah,
or I didn't pick up on it the first time. And that's to me that makes the meaning of it so much better, is
yeah,
because you're seeing things and you're picking up things every time you watch it, and it's always something new. And really, that's my love of Star Wars anyway, because you watch the movies and you're just like, I didn't pick up on these themes, or we have these conversations, and then I go, that makes more sense.
So Tina, that's a very, very good point that a lot of people uh, didn't like about it, but so I never knew I could be interested in a Star Wars show that didn't involve Sith or Jedi. And I think a lot of people felt that way. It didn't have your wizards with magic swords, but
But we had bricks and nails though.
yeah, we did. But yeah, I mean, you know, the Sith and the Jedi are obviously a very big part of the Star Wars universe, as it were.
The mythos.
But this this is kind of part of the Star Wars that I. Why did you say that, Tina? We're gonna have to talk about that, or maybe we shouldn't. But man, now I lost my train of thought. Good going, Tina. Where
Nice
was I
going.
going with that? So the Sith and Jedi are a very important part of Star Wars. This is one of those things about Star Wars that we didn't really get. Oh, screw you, DB.
You had to say it. Dang it, DB. You had to say it.
That's not even funny, man.
Yeah.
Ugh. This is the Star Wars. We don't. This is the Star Wars up until we got to Rogue One. We didn't get this side of Star Wars, and this is this part of Star Wars that we were sorely lacking, and so this just kind of built on that. And of course, we got some really. We were saying, after watching it multiple times, some of the impact of some of the characters in the show made even more of an impact than they originally did. And on that note, let's talk about some of the characters in Andor. Of course, there's Andor.
Am I wrong in thinking that I really liked his backstory, showing where he came from, because he really kind of showed his background was more of a what do I want to say? How do I want to say this? He was more of a indigenous persons of a planet that became a victim of mass industrialization, and then he was rescued by someone, and I mean that's the real basic summary of it and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of glad they gave that backstory of him, so they could kind of show where he came from and kind of his early life experiences of having the trauma of the industrialization, losing, his sister, of not really understanding what was going on because he was part of a more primitive culture that didn't understand what was going on, and then he had some of the traumatizing events, so it kind of led up to more understanding of him and that kind of thing. And but in a lot of the movies, especially after they kind of the first part of it, because like you were talking about earlier, it feels like this show was breaking up into several parts. It was kind of explaining him and kind of establishing him on the planet, and then the heist, and then the prison, and then him coming full circle, going back to the planet, and kind of finishing up where he was at that point.
Yeah.
And it seems like almost that we were understanding him and kind of where he came from, but we were more getting exposed to the people that he was around, and the people that influenced him to become part of the rebellion, rather than him wanting to be a part of it. It just more or less everything that happened to him made him want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's just kind of my interpretation of it, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah, so they did a good job with his backstory, and kind of just I mean, really, there's a lot that can be said about the Andor character because he is essentially the focus of the show, more or less. But there are a lot of other characters, one of which they are talking about quite extensively in the chat room here. And right now they are talking about Cyril.
Cyril.
Yeah, that guy. So this former deputy corporate security guy who starts out this show trying to track down Andor because he murdered two of his colleagues. Ultimately, this investigation got not just him, but got the entire corporate authority kicked off the planet.
Yeah,
lost everything. But there was
got
him
disbanded.
Yeah.
Not just kicked off the planet, but got him disbanded.
Yeah. The Empire took over everything. So he's got this determination to find Andor, and then he kind of gets this. He basically becomes this bureaucrat for what was it? Standards at Weights and Measure. I don't remember what the name of the place he was, but he gets this almost infatuation, if you will, for another character, Deidre, who is the Imperial, the ISB agent that we mentioned earlier, that kind of seemed like even at the onset of introduction of her character, she's got this this thought process in her head that there's something out there that the ISB is not paying attention to.
Yeah,
like there's something out there, and
see, I think even though I don't think that his acting, or with his acting and her acting and the story between the two of them, I don't think quite gives enough, because I think they did a phenomenal job with the two of them, and both of them in their respective roles. But that's more of that darker Star Wars that we were talking about, because not only the relationship that they end up, kind of hinting on between the two of them, and I don't even really think that's a good word to use, because he more had an obsession with her because he kind of understood there was a little something going on, and he knew that she did too, so he became obsessed with what she had going on, and it seemed like she had the confidence to investigate everything and was kind of going in the right track. And she was more leading him along, saying, I know what's going on, but he wanted to be a part of it, but she didn't want him to be a part of it. And his just struggle with that whole thing was like, I think that was the slowest burn of the whole thing. Because every time they pulled into, every time they focused on his character, it was kind of like, what are you doing? What are you trying to do? Where are you going with this? And then he meets up with this girl, and all of a sudden everything just kind of happens in a flash by the end of the show. And it almost teeters. I want to say it almost teeters or kind of borders on a little bit of, I don't even think I don't think it's wrong to say it. It borders on a little bit of creepiness on his part, because he's like 100% obsessed with her.
Vibes from him.
Yeah, I was like, dude, you're just creepy. I'm like, I don't understand where you're going with this, but you're creepy.
And looking at it from the outside, you're thinking, dude, you're stalking an ISB agent. What the hell are you thinking?
Yeah. Like, and all you were was a corporate security guy, and you're stalking an Imperial agent. I'm like
that is the last person you want to be stalking.
Yeah, you know what though? Weird or not, it works out for him in the end.
It does. Really.
I don't know. I will say this: Andor season 2. Andor season 2. I will be interested to see where that goes. That is wrong in so many ways.
It really is. Patrick just joined the chat. How's it going, Patrick?
Hey, Patrick.
Speaking of Tina, we can also talk about her favorite character from the show, and I am referring to Perrin Firtha, who is Mon Mothma's husband. That's everybody's favorite character. Yeah, that guy. Yeah, he's.
I've
I digress.
never looked at.
So
I've
Mon
never looked at.
Mothma.
I've never looked at two people and goes. I've never screamed, "Divorce that dude!" so bad in my life.
Oh, come on, Tina. You know Perrin's your favorite character. But Mon Mothma, we really, they really dig into.
Oh my god!
Did you see that too?
Yeah, I did see that too.
Oh no!
You're not wrong, Tina. You're not wrong. I imagine you're not wrong.
But yeah, you get the kind of the behind the scenes of Mon Mothma as she's trying to navigate being a senator and trying to put this rebel alliance together. And the show ends with this like, so as a senator and who is not what she appears to be, you have to make what's the word I'm looking for? You have to make compromises to fully facilitate what you have chosen to be. And the end of the series or end of the season, you get a glimpse into one of those compromises that she's having to really, something that she's really doesn't want to do, but is almost
Well,
becoming a necessity. And I'm
and the
referring to
crazy thing about her is that you gain so much more respect for her on a level of, it's one thing to be fighting a battle against the Empire for the rebellion, but this, you get a deeper sense of how many fronts she's actually fighting on.
oh yeah,
She's fighting her husband. She's not got a good relationship with her daughter. She's trying to maintain her status as a senator, but she's trying to manage the rebellion at the same
mm-hmm.
time. She's putting her faith in this other person to be a liaison
Yeah.
to other factions of the rebellion, and he's got his own agendas. I mean, she's
Oh,
trying to manage this on so many levels,
she,
and I gained. I mean, like I said, Return of the Jedi is one of my favorite movies, and you get to see a very short glimpse of her and what she was going through, and kind of you see the stress in her face when she talks about the people that have died to fight for the rebellion, and now you see this and what she's gone through, and
Mhm.
how many fronts she's fighting, and the masks and the different things that she has to wear in order to keep the charade up,
Right.
in order to try to do this. And it's like, oh, yeah, she
And
in my opinion is probably the best standout character in the series.
Tina
You
just
know
hit
it.
the nail on the head with that character, though. She said she has to compromise her morals for the greater good. She gave up everything.
Yeah, yeah,
She,
100%.
yeah,
She's just her what her character has to go through is outstanding, and then and the acting ability on that was just, I
mhm.
mean, it's not enough just to deliver, and that's something I've talked about in this show before. It's not just the ability to say the lines and to make it work in the scene, to actually show it in her face, and for her face to show what is going on. And you see
Mhm.
that by the end, where she has to introduce her daughter to this guy that she doesn't like, and
Right.
his son, and say there's a potential that they may get together, and she has to do this in order to go the other way, and that sort of thing. It's like, there's the, yeah, yeah, she's outstanding in my opinion.
Yeah,
Outstanding.
definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
So let's talk about a little bit about Luthen, the antique dealer who definitely has some work going on behind the scenes in creating the Rebel Alliance, helping push that along. He's got to work with the senator, and he's got to be kind of sneaky about that, about how he talks to her, and then he deals with. He ends up dealing with Saw Gerrera. Has a relationship with him. Then he has this rebel group on Aldani that he's got working these jobs, trying to build finances for the rebellion. And then on top of that, he's got an ISB agent that he is kind of got things burning with as well.
He's got a mole or a plant in the inside.
Yeah, he's right. He's got a mole, and he is. Tina's right, and Luthen is a fantastic character, and
yes,
just another character that maybe not to the extent as Mon Mothma, but really has a lot to lose with his dealings.
But the thing about him is that it seems like the difference between him and Mon Mothma is he's manipulating a lot of different factors instead of trying to handling it in a diplomatic manner like Mon Mothma is, and trying to do things on a non combat level. He's fanning the flames on different ends because he's supporting not only the heist, but he's supporting Saw Gerrera, trying to get him to do things, which we already know Saw Gerrera is an extremist. We already know that he does things on a very terroristic level. We already know that. And then he's manipulating several different cogs in the wheel when it comes to the rebellion. And it almost makes me think,
Think about this. If Luthen was to be captured and interrogated, and they were able to get the information that he has inside his head.
Oh, it'd be the fall of the rebellion.
That rebellion, it would completely dismantle.
Yeah.
He's got Saw. He's got the ISB agent. He's got Mon Mothma. He's got all these, not necessarily mercenaries, but like field agents.
But he also but at the same time, he also kind of gives you that era of, or that feeling of, he's prepared for that. He kind of knows that's a possibility. And he's almost kind of like, in a way, he's almost what you would describe as kind of a kamikaze agent, because he knows at any time he could be foiled, he could go down, and he's trying to put the pieces in place before he goes down. Almost, and like that whole speech that he gives to the ISB agent down in the tunnels, from that speech that he's already given up, that he's already pretty much remanded himself to a death penalty that he knows one day will come for him.
Yeah.
And he's just trying to get as much done before that happens. And you can kind of tell that, about him. I mean, and it's like,
and that speech was kind of one of the highlights of the entire series. It was just, man, it hit you. But some Tina mentioned here, she's probably right. He has some kind of, not necessarily a cyanide pill, but some kind of, as she mentions it, an instant kill switch. So if he gets captured, nope. I'm gonna die before I say anything.
Well, and everybody kind of speculates on what his staff is. That little staff that he has.
Mm-hmm.
He's got that staff that he always carries around with him. And everybody's like, "Oh, is it a lightsaber? Is it a vibranium? Or is it a vibroblade staff? Or what is it?" And she might be right. She might be very right. All he has to do is be captured. All he's got to do is detonate that thing, and that's it.
I can only imagine what's in that thing, because while not necessarily a character in the strictest sense of the word, and related to Luthen, something that the Dragon Buddy mentioned in the chat, the Fondor. That ship is crazy.
That is crazy. That is crazy.
If he does that to a just a regular little hull craft, yeah, what's in that staff? But that Fondor did some crazy shit. Yeah, that was amazing.
That thing was pretty cool. That thing was, I mean, a guy who's set up like that and has everything prepared the way he does, he's got a contingency plan for if he makes it, if he doesn't make it, if he gets captured. He's got contingency plans for everything. And yeah, that ship, I agree, 100%. That ship was badass. And so one that I don't hear a lot about as far as speeches go is the one that he has with Andor when he first meets him.
Yeah.
The little talk and the little speech that they have there. That was an interesting one too. And at least it's not as long and not as intense. And it kind of nullified the meaning of it when he ends up trying to go after him or trying to find him to kill him because he thinks that he knows too much. But then when at the end, when Andor finds him and says, he's trying to get him to make his choice whether he wants to kill him, and he gives him the option, then he kind of realizes that going after him and trying to take him out at that point was a mistake, and he's found his man.
Yeah. So another character, a really great standout character in this show, I think, was Kino Loy, played by Andy Serkis.
Yeah.
And so this is the, he's a prisoner, and he's kind of one of the trustees, if you will, of this Imperial prison complex. And he delivered some great lines, but not only that, he delivered some facial expressions that really made an impact. Specifically, the one that I'm thinking of is when the prison doctor, if you want to call him the prison doctor, comes in to check on the older man that has the stroke, and this conversation that they're having with him about what has just happened in the prison recently. But the looks on Kino's face, it's like, damn, the light bulb went off and shit's about to go down.
Yeah. Well, and again, I saw DB's comment about the monologuing and about the dialogue in the show. 100%. Especially Luthen, but yeah, like Mon Mothma's and Andy Serkis's performances in the show, they really, I mean, like I said, I'll stand on this again. The acting in the show really was so great because not only do you get the monologues, not only do you get the speeches, not only do you get these deeper dives into what's going on and these more intense explanations, but you actually see it in their faces what's going on, and you can see when they realize that he thought he was actually going to be let loose, that he thought he was actually going to get out of there by doing the best he could for the Empire, only to realize that eventually they were either going to send him to a deeper part of the prison or they were just going to execute him. And at that point, he was just trying to be somebody who was just being a part of the solution so he could get out of there. And then the next thing he knows, I'm never going to get out of here. I'm never going to make it out of here alive. It's never going to happen for me. It's never going to happen for me. And you can see it. You can see it in his face. Because even when he's sitting in his cell and he realizes that something is so wrong and he's never going to make it, you can see the twist in his face. He's like, holy crap, we need to do something. And Andor's character's right there behind him going, man, we need to figure this out because we're never going to make it out of here if you don't help us. And you know more than anybody since you're the man on the floor. And yeah, Tina, 100%. 100%. Best, some of the best dialogue in Star Wars. And that's why I'm glad it was such a slow burn, because you get some of the best dialogue. Because you don't get that when it's fast paced, when it's action and blaster bolts and lightsabers, you get better dialogue.
Here's the thing about the slow burn comments. I agree it was a slow burn in ways, but I really think that slow burn was deliberate.
Yeah.
And I'm glad, like you said, I'm glad that it was a slow burn, because we got more. It wasn't rushed.
Mm-hmm.
They let us know what was going on. There wasn't just like with some of the shows. They just I'm not going to name one in particular that I thought was terribly rushed, but just you did not get that sense that they were rushing into the story. They really wanted to tell the story.
Mm-hmm.
Are there 100%. Any other
100%.
characters specifically you can think of that you wanted to talk about?
There's so many we could go into, man. I mean, there's so many we could go into. We could probably spend an episode just going over the characters and each one of them and their contribution to the show. I mean, we really could. I mean, there's just so many great characters, so many great, just so many great performances out of it.
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, honestly, if we wanted to do a show just on Andor characters, we really could.
But I wanted to spend a little time talking about some of the locations that we got to see in this show. So I made a list here. So the first planet that we visit in this show is Morlana 1, which is we do see this planet multiple times, but the show starts off with this one when Cassian is looking for his sister in that bar. So Morlana 1, of course, it's the headquarters of the Preox Morlana Corporation, basically a security corporation. This is their headquarters. It is located in the Outer Rim. So we get this planet that, when the show starts off, it's basically fully owned by this corporation, and then due to the bumbling tactics of one Cyril and his crew, the entire corporation goes down, and the planet is taken out of their hands and put directly in control of the Empire.
Not because he didn't have a Scottish guy in his ear chanting that he needed to do something.
Yeah.
That's another character we could talk about too. Is that dude?
We really could. But interesting planet. Most of the planets, with the exception of one, off the top of my head anyway, that we saw in the show, we had never heard of before.
Mm-hmm.
So like Morlana 1, I'd never heard of it. And then, of course, you got Ferrix, which we see quite a lot of in this show. Mm-hmm. Also an Outer Rim planet. Kind of a rocky planet, not really a lot of plant life on it. Also, when the show starts out, it is under the jurisdiction of the Preox Morlana Corporation, and then also gets taken over by the Empire because of what happened on Ferrix very early in the series. But this is where Andor and Luthen meet for the first time, and where he is recruited to take part in the heist that happens later on. So another interesting planet that I don't remember ever hearing about before. But it seems like this planet was also kind of part of the birth of the rebellion. Kind of specifically with the riot that happens in the last episode, which, if I'm thinking right, the last episode is called Rick's Road, and yeah, so there was a big riot that happened due to Cassian, the speech made by Cassian's mom, post posthumous speech.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, interesting planet. What other planets did we get? We got to see. We didn't see it very often, but it does have some importance as far as background, and that would be Canary, which is the birthplace of Cassian. Jungle
Basically,
planet.
you get to see post-industrialization of it, and after it had an accident.
Yeah, yeah. So this planet was like very rich in mineral deposits, but by the time we get to the show, those minerals are pretty much completely extracted during the Republic era.
Mm-hmm.
So even before your well, it might have been during the Clone Wars, but it could have been before the Clone Wars. I'm not sure.
Kind
But
of might have been both. We don't really know.
yeah, it might have been a little bit of both.
Yeah.
But that's that's a planet that I'm not sure if we're gonna go we're gonna end up seeing that one again in the rest of the series.
Well, you were talking about the planet at the beginning of the show when he's actually something they don't address very much is that he was there because he was looking for his sister.
Right.
And he was under the impression that she might have been there. So I'm wondering if they're going to pick up that storyline when season 2 comes up, is if they're going to pick up the fact that he's going to go look for her, or did his adopted mother, or whatever you want to call her, did her words resonate with him and say, don't go looking for her, don't do it, blah, 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 for whatever reason. So is he going to give up, and that's the last we're going to see of it, and he's not even going to concern himself with it anymore. We don't really know. We won't really know. We won't know till season 2. How's that?
Yeah, we won't. Let's see other planets. What? Well, of course we have Aldani, which is where the heist itself takes place. Nice grassy, mountainous planet there.
More of Coruscant.
There's a lot of just based on based on the little bit of information that we got from the show, there's a lot of history behind that planet, especially with the native population and their kind of almost religion, if you will. And so that's a planet that I don't expect we'll go back to that planet, but there is definitely a lot of rich history that makes the planet interesting enough.
Well, I think from what they said, if I remember correctly, from what they said, a lot of the indigenous population had been suppressed so that way the Empire could do their thing. So a lot of them had been cleared out, with the exception of a few farmers and sheep herders and just a few scattered, few scattered settlements. But most of the people had been taken out, and so the Empire could do their thing. But I mean, the eye thing was impressive. That was pretty cool.
Yeah,
that was pretty.
Yeah, neat. That was really cool. I liked.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next planet that we see in the show is, I think the next planet we see after that is Coruscant, or that may have been before Aldani. I don't know.
We kind of see Coruscant throughout the whole thing. It kind of cuts.
Oh yeah, there is a lot of. You're definitely right. There's a lot of Coruscant references and viewings throughout this show.
And you basically see it as kind of a background piece, and that's where they're at. but you don't actually get to see a lot of it just because it's a background piece for her house, for his antique store, things like that.
The ISB headquarters.
ISB, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you're there a lot.
Yeah. And then where Cyril works, where his mom lives, that's kind of cool too, because you kind of get to see like like a standard average apartment for someone living on Coruscant.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's very plain, very drab.
Yeah. And that is the one planet in the show that we actually had heard of before we saw this. And then there, another planet. Sorry?
I don't actually think they say it, but you kind of understood it from Rogue One, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but Saul Guerrero's base, I mean, they don't actually mention the planet. They don't actually say it, but you kind of knew it was there.
Well, when we see Saw, that was not on Jeddah.
Okay,
no.
So then I'm mistaken on that one. Okay.
No, he was actually on a planet out in the Outer Rim called Segra Milo.
Okay.
And so
see, I wasn't sure. I don't think they ever actually mentioned where he's at.
I don't remember if they mentioned the name of it or not. But I know I did some reading about it, and this was basically the headquarters for Saw and his partisans up until there was a certain point that we don't see it in the show, but the Imperials kind of sniff him out there, and then he escapes and finds another location. And that might be when he ends up in Jeddah. I don't know. There's a lot of history with Saul and his partisans and moving around that we don't get in any of the shows. So
yeah.
And
Forrest Whitaker.
Whitaker.
Forrest Whitaker, always been a fan of his. He's another great actor. Awesome. Does a great job as Saul Guerrero. I think he's great.
Saul Guerrero is actually one of my favorite characters in Star Wars.
Yeah, he's outstanding, and I love him as an actor. He's great, and he does a real good job.
So another planet that we see a couple of times in the show is I think it's pronounced Nemos. Neemos. It's the kind of the resort planet.
Oh yeah.
Andor is on when he gets arrested.
Yeah, you don't see a whole lot of that.
Yeah.
Reminded me of like Monaco or the Bahamas.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, he's there and then goes back after he gets out of prison because he needs to get his money. But that does lead us to the last planet that we see in the show. Actually, and in fact, it's actually not even a planet; it's a moon, and that's Narkina 5, which is, of course, the location of the prison complex.
Mm-hmm. Multiple prison complex.
Yeah, yeah, and so they're making something, and based off of what we see toward the end of or right at the end of the series, they're making pieces to the Death Star.
It was so fun too, because when that show was coming out, and we were discussing that amongst like different chat groups, different channels, different people that love Star Wars, everybody was speculating on what those things were. And my guess, I'll be honest with you, my guess was I thought they were making the panels for the TIE fighters.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah, I thought they were making the panels for the TIE. And then at the end, you see him assembling the dish for the Death Star, and I went, I was so wrong.
Oh, yeah. But, yeah, good stuff. So, season 2 of Andor, from the last bit of news that I saw, That is supposed to be released in August.
Now I don't know if this makes a difference. I don't know if this makes a difference or not. And like I said, I trust social media with a grain of salt.
Mm-hmm.
They showed so far. What is it? They showed Skeleton Crew and Acolyte so far on the template. Now they haven't said anything about Andor season 2, but then again, they might mention that later in the year. So who knows?
Yeah. But from what I have read, there's going to be 12 episodes. So we're going to get another long TV show. That's going to be great.
Awesome.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about what I'm going to refer to as the season 2 wish list. What do you want to see in season 2?
Right off the top of my head, I definitely want to see how he acquires K2SO.
Definitely.
Yeah. I now here's my thing though. I love Alan Tudyk. He's awesome. He's a great actor. He's another one of those people that he just is between his facial expressions and his acting. I love Alan Tudyk.
Yeah.
The thing about it is though is that in Rogue One, Alan Tudyk and K2SO added that kind of comic relief aspect to the movie. You know, those fun little moments that you're kind of like, he came out of the middle of nowhere and he would say something you didn't expect.
Yeah.
And then you kind of went, well, that was funny. With the seriousness of Andor season 1, I want to see that. I want to see him acquire K2SO, and I want to see K2SO and his first part of their relationship together. But I'm also kind of worried that it might kind of mess with the flow of the show, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because he'll add that comedic aspect to it, and it might change the dynamic of the show a little bit, which it may not be bad. It just kind of depends on how they take the direction of season 2. You know, they may have taken a little bit more lighthearted. It may be a little bit more action, a little bit more fun, a little bit more laid back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I'm afraid that it may fall victim to like we've talked about in the past, Mandalorian season 3. I love Mandalorian season 3. Don't get me wrong. I liked it. I thought it was there was nothing wrong with it. But it was so hard to beat Mandalorian season 2 with what they did with season 3 that there was no way they were going to top that. And like Star Wars fans, and I'm sure a lot of people in the chat, I'm sure you know as well as I do, that people get this idea in their head that it's going to go a certain way. But the good thing about Andor is that we didn't know what to expect, and what we got was like, holy crap, this is awesome. Now, the only thing I'm worried about is now that they know that, they're going to go, well, we expect this from Andor. And I'm going to go, but you introduce K2SO into the mix, and now we've added another dynamic to the show. So I'm anxious to see it happen, but I'm kind of worried. I'm a little concerned.
So one thing that I want to see, so in season 1, Mon Mothma was discussing a third party that she wanted to bring in. There's been a lot of speculation on that. I'd really like to see them reveal who she's talking about there.
I'm wondering if it's honestly, I'm wondering if it's the introduction of Admiral Akbar and his people.
Maybe. I don't know. While I don't think this is the person she's referring to, I would like to see them bring in, even if it's just for an episode or two, I'd like to see them bring in Bail Organa.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was definitely an important part of the Rebel Alliance at its foundation.
They better do that quick.
If we want to make a very general wish list, I just want to see more about the foundations of the Rebel Alliance.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. It'd be interesting too to see if and it's kind of far out there, and maybe that's not part of it yet, and we'll kind of see how it goes. But I would love to see them, like you were talking, like them establishing and more getting into the establishment of the Rebel Alliance. But I would love to see them bring in Yavin 4 and how they discovered that base and how they established that base. That would be kind of cool to see.
Yeah, something about that. It's not so much when A New Hope was out, because I hadn't really heard about Yavin 4 before that, but like as the movies and TV series have progressed, Yavin 4 was a huge Sith planet.
Mm-hmm.
So
there's a lot of history there
kind
too.
of makes you wonder why the hell they picked that to be there.
Yeah, and there's a lot of history on Yavin too.
Yeah.
And I don't know, and maybe you can correct me on this. I know in Legends there was a lot of history on Yavin as far as between the Sith and the Jedi.
Yeah, well, Yavin was the planet. I want to say it was either Freedon Nad or Naga Sadao that established kind of his Sith alchemy lab there.
Mm.
And then Exar Kun, who was another Sith,
Mm-hmm.
kind of established a base there as well.
Yeah.
So,
and then it was kind of funny that later you found out that they did that after you knew that the rebellion had established their main base there.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, okay. But it would be interesting because, I mean, it might segue into other things, and maybe they can introduce, there's a chance that maybe if they do that, they can introduce legends and lore that they want to do in later dates. Like maybe they want to bring Exar Kun into the new canon, or some of those other characters, or some of that other stuff in there. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely places like that can help bring. And actually, another good thing, interesting. You brought that up when you're talking about legends. In Andor, Luthen made a reference to some legends material when he referred to the Rakata Empire.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be interesting to see them kind of maybe pop some more legends hints in there.
Well, a lot of his artifacts in his antique store, referred to games and different things that were in Legends. There's a lot of Easter eggs and a lot of things in there that had to do with Legends. One of my favorite pre-Disney Star Wars games was Force Unleashed.
Mm-hmm.
And the the outfit that he had in there that was fully assembled, the Sith outfit, that kind of referred to that as well. Even though that game is no longer canon, it still referred to that. So it's kind of neat that they're introducing some of that stuff, so that way maybe they can bring some of that stuff into canon. And it's good for the EU fans too, because they bring that stuff in and establish it as being part of the Star Wars universe. Before you know it, obviously the sequels are the sequels, and we're not going to get the stuff that happened after Return of the Jedi. But maybe some of the stuff before, a lot of that they can incorporate into it, and they bring it into, and they do that by bringing it into these shows and dropping little hints and little ideas that these things exist. And I think it's great. I think it's a good thing. I think it's really cool that they're doing that. And they've even talked about going back and doing shows from the Old Republic, and even going back to and doing the Origins of the Jedi shows. There's these kind of hints out there that they're going to do stuff like that, and I think it's great. I hope they do that, because then it will bring those groups together, if you will.
That is right. The the movie that James Mangold is supposed to be directing is a Dawn of the Jedi movie. The origins of the Jedi. So that'll be interesting. James
That will be
Mangold, of
cool.
course, was the guy that directed the movie Logan.
Yeah.
So that could be very interesting. There's so we didn't we haven't had a show since the announcement, but and while it doesn't really have a whole lot to do with Andor and our discussion here, what are your thoughts on Dave Filoni kind of taking over the creative role?
I think it's great. I've said this before. I'm not a Kathleen Kennedy hater. I think she does a great job. She's done productions on some of the best pulp. What do I want to say? What's the word I'm looking for here? Some of the best past pulp pulp culture movies in the
Mhm.
past. Some of my favorite franchises she's done production on. And I think that it's a great move. I think it is definitely something that's past due. I really hope that he takes over. And as much as I think that some people don't want to see it, I really hope that he takes some of his knowledge, some of the things that he's done with Star Wars, and I think I want to see him really apply that to the newer content, including the
Mhm.
sequel trilogy, and kind of brings that into light and brings some stories that will help progress that story along. I hope he's very involved in the new Rey movies, whatever they may be. Because
Yeah.
don't believe what you hear online, because it may not be the new Jedi Order. It may not be. Who knows what it's going to be? We don't know yet. We don't know what it's going to be. That's the brass tacks of it. Is that a
Yeah.
lot of people have these theories about what it's going to be, and we don't know yet what it's going to be. And I'm not opposed to seeing it. I hope it's a great story. I hope they can correct some of the mistakes that were made in the sequels, because there were mistakes made. I'm not one of those people who doesn't think there wasn't. But I'm really excited to see what, because if he gets complete creative control that he has now, and he's able to do his thing, I'm really excited to see what his ideas are and where he wants to go from here on. And like I said, I hope he doesn't concentrate, because I know his thing has been the Clone Wars, and I know his thing has been, kind of pre the original trilogy.
Hmm.
Um, I'm really hoping that he takes all aspects of Star Wars and expands on them even broader, and makes new stories that encompass every era, and not just the original, the prequels, the sequels, but the old Republic, the new Republic, the origins, the after the sequels. I hope he takes it all into a new direction, and I'm hoping that with everything that he does, and the fact that George Lucas and him see things on the same level, I'm really thinking that he's going to be able to do that in a way that will bring people of both sides of the argument back into the fold.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they're making Lucasfilm, or rather Disney is making a really good decision with
Yes.
kind of putting him in charge.
Yeah.
Um,
Because I think of all their properties, I don't think Star Wars is not. I think Star Wars has the pedigree, the background, and the consistency that it can keep going at a more even pace. Because Marvel is great. I love Marvel. Don't get me wrong. I love Marvel. But Marvel hit this huge high, and now it's kind of doing this nosedive. And I don't know if it's because people aren't interested in the stories, if it's fatigue, if it's politics, whatever the case may be. But the point of it is that it kind of really hit this real epic high, and now it's kind of fallen off a little bit. But as much as people in the dark side of Star Wars want to say, I don't think Star Wars is doing as bad, or is. I definitely don't think it's dead, and I don't think it's doing as bad. I think it's doing consistent. I think it's putting up consistent numbers. I think it's putting up consistent content, and I think with him at the helm, I think you'll slowly start to see that rise of Star Wars becoming the dominant sci-fi franchise when it comes to that kind of thing because of him. And because he's great. He's a great writer. He's a great thinker. He's forward thinking on all these things, and I'm really excited to see where he goes with it.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what we get going forward.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks everybody for coming in and listening and hanging out with us in the chat. And thanks JD for coming and talking some Andor with me.
Yes, sir.
I believe next week, unless things have changed, we are going to have Pete on with us. And we are going to have a discussion about the sequel trilogy. Just kind of a general discussion, not really one particular movie of the trilogy, just kind of the trilogy in general. But after that, how far along in Return of the Jedi from a certain point of view are you?
I am halfway. I kind of hit a lull. I listened to it when I was traveling back and forth from Colorado, but I'm halfway through. I am going to try to concentrate this weekend on trying to finish it if I can. And if we want to do a show on that, I've got some interesting
I think
talking
we may
points.
do that. If we are both done with it, maybe the 19th. I mean, I'm to a point now. I'm just about done with the aforementioned best albums of 2023 list. So I'm not spending a lot of time. I won't be spending a lot of time trying to re-listen to albums. So I'll have some more time to get on my my Audible and listen to some more of Return of the Jedi.
Even halfway through, there's some interesting talking points.
There really is. Yeah, I'm about halfway through as well. I think the story that I just finished was about Palpatine.
Okay, I'm on the story with Wicket.
Okay,
it's called One Normal Day.
One Normal Day. Oh, you're much further behind than I am.
I got a lot of catching up to do.
Okay. Yeah, we might be done by the 19th, and if not, we'll just save that for next year.
I will try to make it my priority to finish that so we can do it by the 19th because I think it would be a good discussion.
Yeah. I mean, another thing we can do, because that's actually the 19th is going to be our last. Actually, let me look at the calendar again. Hang on. No. Where's December at? Okay, there we go. Yeah, that'll actually be our last episode of the year because we won't be doing a show on the 26th. We could possibly do a. I don't know. We'll talk about that offline. It might be a Return of the Jedi from a certain point of view, or it might be something else. But we will do a show. So again,
we'll figure something out.
For listening, and all of you folks that are watching on YouTube, make sure that you subscribe and like and all that jazz. And if you are listening to us on any of our audio platforms, please review and rate the show if that is an option.
And if you like what you see, spread the word, man. Get some more people in here to have some discussions with us.
Heck yeah, definitely. So that is it for this week. We'll see you next week. And everybody, you have a great week. See you next time.
This show is part of the Subculture Podcast Network. For pop culture and entertainment podcasts, go to bio.link/subculturepodnetwork. Prepare to be entertained.